Let's move to the second variation, which is sentences with two blanks. So far we've looked at sentences with one blank. Reading the first sentence. As the weekend finally rolled around, the city folk were only dash happy to settle down and laugh their cares dash. Now let's look at our options. Now for pretty much the same strategies apply for sentences with two blanks also. The context will help us. There could be a positive detail or a negative detail. There could be other strategies like collocations, colloquial expressions that we've heard people use repeatedly in different contexts, right? We need to look out for that as well. So let's look at our options. Option A, just afar. Option B, too away. Option C, extremely off. Option D, very up. Option E, so on. Let me give you a hint. Now, this is a sentence from the given options requires a collocation. What I'm saying is colloquial expressions. You've heard people use this repeatedly at various contexts. Can you identify the collocation? As the weekend finally rolled around, the city folk were only too happy to settle down and laugh their cares away. Now, only too happy is a colloquial expression. Laugh their cares away is another colloquial expression. So the answer option is option B. Let's fill the blank. Let's look at our second sentence. The flood of brilliant ideas has not only dashed us, but has also encouraged us to dash the last date for submission of entries. So if you look at the context is giving you a positive detail, right? How do I know that? Look at my clue words. Flood of brilliant ideas. Okay, so that's something positive. Encouraged us. Again, that's something positive. So from my options, what are some of the options that I can immediately eliminate? Option C and option D. It says dismayed and scared. Dismayed means dejected. Scared, again, a negative word. I can eliminate C and D. I'll have to choose between A, B and E. Now let's see if it fits syntactically. What I mean is it the right fit in terms of form and structure when it comes to sentence construction, right? So let's look at option A. The flood of brilliant ideas has not only overwhelmed us, yeah, it's something that, they didn't expect, so probably it's too much for them to even think of, right? Overwhelmed us, but has also encouraged us to extend the last date for submission of entries because the ideas keep coming in, right? There's an overflow of ideas. So that seems like our best bet, option A, but let's not, discount the other options, which is enjoyed and happy, option B and E. But let's look at if it fits, constructively in the sentence. The flood of brilliant ideas has not only enjoyed us, again, we know it's, when it comes to sentence construction, it's not the right form. The flood of brilliant ideas is not only happy as, again, we know that that's not the right form. So our answer option is option A. Let's fill that blank. Moving on to our third sentence. Behaving in a dash and serious way, even in a dash situation, makes people respect you. Okay, so here again we have a synonym hint word and then I have an adjective serious way. So I have to look for a word that brings in the same meaning as serious, right? So let's look at our options. I have calm, I have steady, I have flamboyant, I have cool, and I have silly. Okay, so having looked at this hint word, synonym hint word and, let's see what could be the closest. I could say option A. I could also say option B, steady and serious. But what about flamboyant? Flamboyant means showy, extremely colorful. Well, that does not fit our synonym here, serious, so I'm going to rule out option C. Cool and serious. Now, that's almost like a contrast. I can rule out option D. Silly and serious. Again, an illogical fit. I can rule out option E as well. So I have to choose between option A and B. Now let's look at our second blank. It says even in a dash situation. Okay, so there's another hint word for you, which is your indefinite article A. But if I look at my options, I have difficult and I have angry. Out of these two, I know that I can't use angry, because if I have to use angry, it should be an, right? Angry starts with a vowel. I know my indefinite article A is followed by a consonant, and the consonant option is in A, difficult. So that's our right fit. Behaving in a calm and serious way, even in a difficult situation, makes people respect you. So let's fill that blank. Let's move on to our fourth sentence. An airplane with dash passengers on board made an unscheduled dash as the airport to which it was heading was covered with thick fog. All right. Let's look at our options. So are we understanding the context here? So basically, there's some sort of an obstruction. Remember, the airplane is, in air, right? So having said that, we also have to look at logical fits. Let's look at our options. Option A, irritable, slip. B, faulty, stop. C, variety, halt. T, tons, wait. And E, numerous, landing. Let's go option by option. Option A, an airplane with irritable passengers on board made an unscheduled slip. Okay. Again, illogical, both the words. B, an airplane with faulty passengers on board made an unscheduled stop. Now, like I said, right, the airplane is in the air. It doesn't make sense for it to stop right in the middle, right? So, again, illogical. An airplane with variety passengers, if I have to use variety, I have to club it with a preposition, variety of passengers. So, I can't use option C, out. Option D, an airplane with tons passengers, again, I have to use the preposition of, tons of passengers, right? So, again, option D is out. An airplane with numerous passengers on board made an unscheduled landing as the airport to which it was heading was covered with thick fog. And this makes logical fit. So, in terms of vocabulary, which will logically fit the context, only option E fits the bill. So, let's go ahead and fill that blank. Let's look at our fifth sentence. Deemed universities dash huge fees but have not been successful in providing dash education to our students. So keep in mind the context again. Deemed universities dash huge fees. So when I say deemed, we're talking about merited universities, right? They have what it takes, and they have the right courses and all of that. So they go ahead and do what? Let's look at our options. Collect, pay, ask, charge, demand. Okay, so deemed universities dash huge fees but have not been successful in providing dash education to our students. Let's not forget the second blank as well. Now, it seems like almost all the options for the first blank fits. Deemed universities collect huge fees. Deemed universities pay huge fees. No. Option B, I can eliminate automatically. Deemed universities ask huge fees. Again, when we have better words, right? When you're a deemed university, you don't ask, right? It's more on the lines of you just charging. This is the fee. This is what it takes for you to get inside our university. So charge seems like the right vocabulary rather than demand or collect. Right? Deemed universities charge huge fees but have not been successful in providing quality education to our students. So it's not worth the amount of fees that they charge because the students are not getting quality education. That's what the context is saying. But even if you want to go ahead and say, why can't I say collect? Deemed universities collect huge fees but have not been successful in providing maintaining education. Second blank doesn't fit. So that's why I can automatically eliminate option A. You can come back and say, why not demand? Right? Because they are in that position to demand. Again, our second blank does not fit. Deemed universities demand huge fees but have not been successful in providing quantitative education to our students. So, in terms of both the blanks having the right words, option D would be the right fit. Let's go ahead and fill the blank.
In order to tie the rope at the dash, you would have to move slightly dash. So I need words that go together, almost synonyms. Let's go part by part. Option 1, in order to tie the rope at the bottom, you would have to move slightly below. That makes logical sense. In order to tie the rope at the top, you would have to move slightly down. Doesn't make sense. Illogical. In order to tie the rope at the bottom, you would have to move slightly up. Again, does not make sense. Illogical. In order to tie the rope at the pole, you would have to move slightly away. Why? If you're tying the pole, you need to be closer to the pole. And then again, it's incomplete. In order to tie the rope at the pole, where specifically at the pole is not mentioned, we don't have enough information, right? The same will appear for 5 as well. In order to tie the rope at the pole, you would have to move slightly near. So which point of the pole? Information is incomplete. So I can't apply both 4 and 5 because of incomplete information. Whether this person has to be away from the pole or near the pole, I don't know, because it depends on where in the pole he has to tie the rope, right? And to what is he tying the pole to, right? So in order to tie the rope at the bottom, you would have to move slightly below is the most logical, closest meaning, right? Option 1. The chairman informed the board members about his decision to dash 1,000 equity shares owned by him in the dash market. So here again, we apply logic. So a couple of things for you to keep in mind. I'm hoping most of you understand these terms, right? Equity shares. So what market will it associate with? So let's understand. So what is the meaning of equity shares? Basically, whoever is the owner of the company, right? Those people hold these equity shares. And they also have, they have the right to vote, right? So stock market is where you it's a place where shares of public listed companies are traded. You trade your shares in the stock market, right? So somebody's asking the question, difference between stock market and share. Share market is where you have all these goods, right? Phones, phone covers, lights, gadgets, wallets, all sort of products sold in the share market. So when you go to share market, you get it in a lesser price, right? So that's the difference between share market and stock market. So in this context, he's the chairman, probably owner of the company. He's a board member. So what is he doing? Let's look at context. Let's look at the word after the blank, right? So is he selling? Is he buying? Definitely not stocking. So I can eliminate option 4, right? Then let's look at the second blank. In the closed market, doesn't make sense. Troubled market, doesn't make sense. Stock market, yes. Keeping in mind equity shares, that's the context. Definitely not black market, right? So the answer is 3. To dash by the ghastly incident, children dare not go near the railway lines even if dash train plies across the crowded section. So let's look at this context. My clue word is ghastly, right? So something ghastly means something very horrifying happened, right? Something terrifying happened. So dash by the ghastly incident, children dare not go near the railway lines. So they're asking the children not to go near the railway lines, even if is another clue phrase for you. So in the instant you can eliminate 1 and 2. Why? Because obviously you have a word impressed, positive word. You're not impressed by the ghastly incident. Yes, you can eliminate 1. So everything else applies, right? Terrorized, awestruck, terrified, and terrified seems to apply. And look at the options. You have no, every, no, every. So if you look at the blank 1, terrorized, awestruck, terrified, all give the same meaning, more or less, right? Now, terrorized. Okay, if I have to quickly look at this word, right? When you're terrorized about something, you're in an agitated mode. Okay, awestruck. When you're awestruck, again, you just stunned that something like this happened. You can also relate it to being horrified. You're stunned in horror. And another synonym could be terrifying itself, which we've already used, 4 and 5. So, Jyoti, like you pointed out, we have to choose between, because of this even if, what can I quickly eliminate? Options which have every, right? I can quickly eliminate them. Not even if every train applies, even if no train is there around, we don't want the children to go near the railway lines. So I have to choose between terrorized and terrified. So like I said, terrified is almost like horrifying, stunned. Terrorized, on the other hand, we said something to do with, I could say afraid, right? So given the circumstance, we're looking at a word that is closest in option. Right? Also keep in mind, when you terrorize someone, you're also forcing them to do something by either you're threatening them or using violence. So in this context, the more closer word that will fit the option is 4. Terrified by the ghastly incident, children dare not go near the railway lines even if no train plies across the crowded section. So just to clarify between terrified and terrorized, you can make someone scared or afraid using, forcing them or threatening them by threat. So terrified is the closest one. The bank has started 2 schemes. One for the dash business firms of the urban areas, and the other one for dash farmers and laborers of the rural areas. So basically, look at this. So my clue in the context is business firms, urban areas, farmers and laborers, rural areas. So I need to look at my options and see which adjective or word best describes these 2 categories. Urban areas, rural areas, business firms, farmers and laborers. Which is the one? Are we talking about? So the bank is decided to start 2 schemes. Okay. So it's going to be different schemes, obviously, because it's 2 different sectors, classes. So would you rather go ahead and which word would you usually associate these 2 sectors with, right? That's the question you need to take back. So what is the meaning of this word complacent? Complacent means someone is very self-satisfied, right? Or eager to please. Self-satisfied, pleased. So is that even an appropriate word respective of which class we can associate that with, whether it is business firms or farmers and laborers? Is that the appropriate word in this context? No. So wherever that word is coming, I'm going to eliminate those options, which is 1 and 2. And again, struggling might apply for the farmers and laborers, right? But complacent is an incorrect word choice. I can't use that for both these sectors. 3, affluent. Affluent means something that's overflowing, right? Something that's doing really well. That's a word that you will associate. Usually, you would associate that word with waste in terms of something that's overpowering or overpouring, right? In this context, we're talking about something that comes out for, something that's doing really well. So when we're referring to business firms, right, the context here is flowing out, flourishing. So having said that, yes, I can associate this word affluent to business firms, and impoverished I know is talking about something that's poverty stricken, limited, right? So just the opposite is given an option 4, I can eliminate it. And again, rich and affluent. Affluent is some word that I can't associate with farmers and laborers of rural areas. So the obvious option is option 3. Affluent business firms for impoverished, poverty-stricken farmers and laborers of the rural areas. That's it. Along with the preparation of a disaster dash plan in the city, the master plan has also recommended the development of zone-wise disaster dash of centers. So your clue word being disaster. So any word from the options, if you look at the options, there are certain words that are repeated, right? What's the word that is repeated? Mitigation. So what's the meaning of mitigation? Mitigation means to make less severe or intense, to lessen basically. So understanding the context, we need the right words, right? So along with the preparation of a disaster, something that helps reduce, something that helps bring down, something that helps to alleviate this. What's the right word? Mitigation. So in the first blank, which is that option, I have 2 and 4. Right? So all the 1, 3 and 5 I can eliminate. Not disaster identification plan, not disaster development plan. Why would you want to develop disaster? And disaster action plan. Illogical, right? I can eliminate 1, 3 and 5. So both has mitigation and mitigation, 2 and 4. So do we need disaster management of centers or disaster development of centers? Obviously we need management to be able to manage this well. If there is a disaster, how do we manage it? Right? Those are the centers we need. Again, just pure logic. Option 2.